Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call this regular monthly meeting and our annual meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Michael Rossi,
Here.
Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren,
Here.
Eddie Alberino,
Here.
Michael Florio,
Here.
Chinzy Lettieri,
Here.
Jay Mandel,
Here.
Zach Floyd,
Here.
Dylan Walter,
Here.
Andrew Randy, Susan Marcus,
Here.
Ryan Pellegrini.
Here. Thank you. All the regular members are here, so I won't be seating alternates tonight. Let's see, I was going to welcome Andrew, but I understand he's got a conflict tonight, so that's my chair's comment. At this time, we have the annual meeting and the election of officers. I'm going to pass the gavel to the secretary.
Do we have any nominations for the office of chair?
Yes, sorry. I must around. I've been nominating him for the last 8
Well,
years.
not tonight, my friend.
Oh,
I
God.
move to nominate Michael Rossi as chair of planning and zoning.
I'll second that.
Oh, my God. Sorry, very much.
Michael Rossi has been nominated as chair. Are there any other nominations?
Michael Orsi.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the nominations for chair.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
You proceed to vote. Yes, all right. Well, since there's only one nomination as chair, as a secretary, I'll enter one vote for Michael Rossi for chair. Yeah, we'll back now.
With that, I'd like to ask for nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate, oh, can I raise my hand, Bill, so he's in here, thank you. I'd like to nominate Bo Clark as vice chair.
Thank you.
I'll
I'll second it. Okay, sorry.
Oh, it was so polite.
Thank you. Okay, we have a first and a second for Bo. Is there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll ask secretary to record one vote.
We have to
Oh,
close nominations. I move to close nominations for vice chair.
Second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
As secretary, I'll enter one vote for, Bo Clark, Walter Bo Clark as vice chair.
Thank you. And now we need nominations for secretary.
I like to nominate, looking around now, I like to nominate Ellen Dahlberg for secretary.
And I'll second that.
Very good, thank you. We have Ellen Dahlgren for secretary. Are there any other nominations? Being none, is there a motion to close close nominations?
I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Carried.
I have to one vote for myself. I think I can.
I think you can.
I think you did.
Yeah, I
Cast a vote for yourself.
have one vote for Ellen Dahlberg for secretary.
Who?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your confidence in not only me, but in the three of us. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4 are minutes, review and approval of the November 10, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'd like to approve the revised approval of the minutes.
I have a comment on the minutes.
Okay.
I made the motion to amend the agenda to the Vox Church ahead of the others when it came to old business. And that wasn't reflected in the minutes as submitted.
Okay. If we make that correction, is there any other notes?
I like to, amend with Bo's correction.
Okay, you've already known or moved. Do we have a second then?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carries, thank you. Let's see, public hearing. We have an application, 25-21. Is there a notice read?
Yes.
I have to repeat myself in 7.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So since Dylan's recusing himself, I will be seating, Susan for him. For any time this application comes up to
The Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 8th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. PZC 25 21, special exception for a restaurant pursuant to section 27.2.32B of the Clinton zoning regulations. 21 East Main Street, map 56, block 60, lot 8, zone B3, applicant Michael P. Harkin, Harkin Engineering LLC. At such hearing, all persons who have a right to be heard, the application and correspondence are available for public inspection on the town's website. Anyone requiring special accommodation to participate in the public hearing should contact the land use office at 860-669-6133. Michael Rossi, Chair, Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Okay, with that, is there an agent or applicant for this? Item?
We actually have two. I'm attorney Lynn Pender Law Office, 752 East Main Street, in Madison. I'm here representing MBC Peaks LLC in connection with this application, which is a change of use for 21 East Main Street, which most of you know as the Comcast building, which had a business application and office building. We are here asking for a change of use to restaurants. As you may know, the building is located in the B3 zone, which a restaurant use is permitted, subject to, in this case, special exceptions. So Mike Harkin will present the specifics here, but just generally, I think it's important to know that we meet the general requirements of section 11, which is the overall special exception requirements. And in addition, the detail in 12.28 of the regulations, the application meets the requirements of those regulations that cover restaurants. The application is also in line with the town plan of conservation and development, and we've met the notice requirements. So I am basically at this point gonna introduce Mike, and I'm here if there's any legal questions that you want to ask. Mike.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Harkin. I'm a professional engineer and principal of Harkin Engineering located at 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Kenilworth, Connecticut. Again, here tonight on behalf of my client, the owner of the property, MBC Pete's LLC. The applicant, again, is myself on behalf of Branda Pete's, Michael Nuzzo, and the address is 9 East Main Street. So again, we're here tonight for a simple change of use from an office use, which was the Comcast building, to a restaurant. Branda Pete's would like to move approximately 100 yards, 300 feet from where they currently are, down to this new location. So just a little bit of house cleaning. My firm was involved in the physical design of the site. The land surveyor of record is Gessick and Associates, Don out of Clinton, Connecticut. So first thing we did, we started this project back in September with Mike. We were hired, we had Don go out there and do a full A2, T2 survey of the property, as well as get everything in front on the Boston Post Road. Obviously, it fronts on East Main Street, and then the rear of the property is the town of Clinton commuter lot. There is a small driveway that comes in this location, and then the old Coffee Break restaurant is down in here, just to familiarize ourselves with the site. Again, as Lynn had said, it's in the B3 zone. It's comprised, it's a smaller parcel. It's only comprised of about 0.29 acres. That breaks down to around 12,500 square feet. So, as far as exterior renos, there really isn't anything going on with the building structure itself. What we will be doing, which is based on the requirements of the public health code and the redesign of the septic system in the rear, is to relocate, basically take out the existing ramp that's there and stairway, and then replace it with a new one that's a little bit further back against the building, just so we meet the public health code. The second item that we're doing outside is a gentleman from Public Works had asked Mike, when he purchased the property, there's a drain that comes from the basement. I believe it's a sub pump line that discharges out onto the town's property. And what happens in the winter is that discharge, it actually freezes and causes an icy condition. So what we propose to do is reroute that sub pump inside the existing structure. And we have 2 dry wells in the front that aren't being used. So we're just gonna put it into the dry wells. One of the questions that Abby had asked me is, does that lead it out into the state drainage system? And the answer is no. It's self-contained on the property itself. And it's large enough to handle the flows that are coming. I believe there are 2 900 gallons in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
I believe it was a part of the old septic system that they just left in place.
thank you.
All right, so, again, we meet all the bulk standards with the ramp, and the step-free location. We have the zoning chart as shown on our site development plan. The major aspect of the project is dealing with the septic system. Obviously, when you're moving from an office use to a restaurant with the seating capacity, there's a tremendous amount of water that's gonna be used, and the septic has to be upgraded in what you see on this plan. This is our septic system plan, which has been already approved by CRAD. That was the first thing. We had to get it approved, just so we knew the seating capacity. So by getting the seating capacity, Mike can then tell his architect on how to place and design the interior and do the interior layout based on the amount of seats. You can't start with the amount of seats and then try to fit the septic. You have to go vice versa. So this has already been submitted and approved. If you want to put a full building permit today, to put the septic in, he can do so. The last sheet is basically just all the notes that the health department requires. It will be a pump chamber. It's very specific septic system, very costly. And with that being said, obviously, the septic is taking up the whole rear of the parcel. So we will be ripping up that asphalt in that rear area and then replacing it in kind in the exact same configuration. Any curbing that's ripped up will also be replaced. There is an item that Abby and I had discussed regarding parking and striping. Currently, you can see on this plan, the surveyor had picked up the line striping that was on this side, but on this side, it was so worn out and faded, it wasn't done. So what we said we would do as a condition of approval, if needed, is that we would put the striping in and just call it out as the parking lots to be restriped. Even though we have it on the septic plan, we will put it on the site development plan, just for clarification. So, some of the other items, that's important to note for planning and zoning, there is nothing to do with signage, building signage. The applicant will come back in when he has a sign designed, for the structure. Some, conversations that Kathy and I had said, with the zoning regulations, Mike cannot bring those neon signs, correct, Kathy? Can't bring the neon signs and set them up. So those are the 2 items. If Mike so chooses to, move the existing Grand the Pete sign from down the road over there, I don't know if it's grandfathered in. That would have to be something to look at, but if he decides to just move the sign, that'd be something. But it's a separate application, and nothing to do with the sign on this application. The other item is that the public notice sign was put up in front, as it's actually still there. Housekeeping, it was put up there in a timely manner. A picture was snapped and sent in there just for verification and for the record. I believe the health department approval was also submitted. And that's about it. Erosion controls as part of the town's regulations and requirements. We do show the erosion controls, silt fence and hay bales if needed. And if they disturb any of the lawn, just to replace it, at a timely fashion. So that is my, presentation in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions before we open up to the public. Yes, Bill.
Not really a question, but just, I noticed on the zoning confirmation, the front setback does not meet the regulations, but it's a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Yes,
I
sir.
think that should be on the record that.
Yes, sir. And our plan, so, what the vice chair was basically saying is in our chart, the minimum setback from the front property line in the B3 zone is 25 feet. And it's existing at 19.9, and we have this little asterisk right there. It says existing non-conforming, so it's part of the plan set, and it is so duly noted.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Would
Go ahead.
still have to, I know it went through CRED, but would still have to go through deep at all? Anything and with their
I don't think the
concern?
flow is sufficient to go through deep at all.
No, it doesn't have to go for anything because it's, you know,
Yeah.
river.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the break-in in septic is first it would go to the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
If it's
I wanna
over,
make sure.
yeah, and it does not reach that threshold. And then anything over 7,500 gallons has to go to deep.
Okay.
We'd be more than happy to, if we could fit 7,500 gallons on there, but we can't get that many.
Any other comments or questions from the commission at this time? Okay, at this time, I would like to, open the public hearing up to comments from the, public. If you have, if anybody here, has, comments about this application, I would like to hear from those in favor of it first, then anybody in opposition, and then anyone with general comments. Please address all comments to the commission, not to the applicant. Is there anybody who would like to speak on this application? Okay, I'm not hearing any, not seeing anybody, okay. At this time,
No, you have to ask,
Mhm.
you have to ask, you ask it, I catch them, he did a favor.
But no, I thought he rolled them all through.
I rolled them all three.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody have any comments, period, at this time. Yep. Thank you. Okay, with that,
Big motion.
if there's any questions, if there aren't any other questions from the commission, I would, entertain a
I'd like
motion
to
to
make a
close.
motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Okay? Both seconded that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Can somebody go get Dylan?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Supposed to be a room.
Probably stolen property. No.
Why you have? No. Try yourself.
Good. Give him a moment to get back. So staff reports, for 6A and 6B, Dylan has returned, so this isn't your, no longer seated. 6A and 6B will take up as we hit those particular, applications. Report C, Abby, has, let me know that she was ready to give us some information about the new housing bill, so we can hear that.
Sure, so this is special session Public Act number 2521, which was House Bill number 8002 in the regular legislative session, but came to fruition in the special session. What I'm gonna do is just give you a really high level overview and just kind of set the stage that the commission is going to have work to do in the winter and spring to comply with some of these provisions. And then ongoing work that we'll have to consider, as the next year and a half goes by. So there's a host of things that this bill did. It sort of took the original housing bill that was proposed. It toned down some of the mandated elements in that original bill that we were sort of concerned about relative to sort of parking, mandatory transit districts and those types of things, and made some of those things optional. But it did come in with some mandatory provisions that we'll have to consider. So I'm going to give you sort of the key components of it. And again, we're going to be revisiting this more than once over the next several months. But the first one is the development of housing growth plans, which is another planning document in addition to our POCD and our affordable housing plan. These housing growth plans were required to sort of identify the policies, plans, practices, available lands, inventory of lands, and other elements that where housing could be reasonably developed. We would need to outline infrastructure needs as we look to say, what is our sort of apportionment of whatever regional housing number gets assigned to the Lower Connecticut River area. So that number, originally there was a methodology in the bill that folks had some concerns about because it was a little bit elevated. It looks like now those numbers will be more in line with the methodology that RiverCog has already used with its own housing needs assessment that's been done. So it's better for us because it's fewer units, but it's also a little bit more thoughtful in the way that it sort of apportions them between the various communities. So that part is good. We are in the tranche of communities that will be among the first housing growth plans that are due in 2028. So that's going to be something that will have two paths to get to. We can work under RiverCog, similar to what we did with the affordable housing plan, where they did the regional plan and then did annexes for each of the towns, which is what we did in our 2022 affordable housing plan, which I think would probably be the recommended path, given sort of some of the uncertainties about this plan and needing to be coordinated with regional and state policy. Towns, however, can opt out of the regional provisions and can go out on their own, suggest their own numbers and policies and other data generation. I think it will probably wind up being more affordable and consistent for us to sort of stay within the regional effort. But again, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. So that's something to think through. I'm not clear, and I think there's still some conversation out there about how this will align with the affordable housing plans. So we will be in a position where the affordable housing plan is due in 27. The housing growth plan is due in 28. So we're sort of in this piece, and we will have just finished our affordable or our plan of conservation and development. One thing that the group may hear from David as we look into the adoption of our POCD is adding some language, not necessarily committing to a specific path, but at least acknowledging the housing growth plans in our plan so that everything is consistent as we go. Because one of the evaluation criteria for these growth plans will be consistency with the municipal POCD. So we just want to, similar to what we did with some of the resiliency district language and some of the other pieces that came in under other public acts in the last legislative session, we want to make sure that if we have a window to put the language in, that we do it now. So it won't be anything that substantially changes, but it will at least appear in the document. So, so that's something to think about. Other pieces, there are a couple different zoning tools that are enabled in this. One has to do with transit-oriented zoning. So priority housing development areas. These are tools that can earn you sort of graces under this 830G moratorium sort of program if you have them in place. There are specific things that you have to do, such as participating with Connecticut Municipal Development Authority, so CMDA, which we are already in line to participate with anyway. But we'll be having a lot of conversations about where should housing go, how should it be developed, what are the appropriate densities, and how do we sort of meet the provisions in the act. Some of the stuff for things like some of the transit-oriented zoning priority areas and stuff, there's particular zones where a certain level of density is required. And we have to line that up with what our infrastructure, may be able to accommodate. But the other side of that is that if you do these things, then if and when funding becomes available, the bill outlines a path to funding, but doesn't necessarily fund. But in the next several years, if that funding becomes available, we may be able to unlock some of those things for infrastructure dollars, like wastewater systems and that kind of stuff. So it is something to think about. Other key things, let's see, come June, I think it's June 1 of 26 or July 1 of 26, I think it's July. There is a by right component to residential properties between 2 and 9 units in commercial and mixed use districts. So all of the towns who do not already provide for that are going to have to be looking at amending their zoning regulations to be consistent with the statute that comes into effect. So that will likely happen ahead of our comprehensive review of the regulations. And so we may have to step into this conversation over the next several months in order to be compliant at the time that deadline hits. The last piece is, for some of these areas where you are, in the commercial areas where you're proposing some of these more dense, development or more dense for us developments, you can't require parking for developments for units of 17 or less. You can, at a certain threshold, request a parking analysis be submitted and kind of go through the methodology there. That parking analysis has an opportunity for folks to simply meet our parking provisions that we already have that are consistent with state statute. But it does, where there's sufficient parking available and where certain densities of housing are proposed, parking is no longer something that you can require on those smaller pieces. So again, those are things we will parse out each one of these things as we go. There are some other components to this, relative to, reporting to the fire marshal at manufactured home parks for fire consistency and sort of what flow is coming out of fire hydrants. There are some provisions for school building funds being linked to having adopted the appropriate housing growth plan. So there's some carrots in here, and there's also some sort of sticks. If you're not consistent, you may not get as many points towards your funding applications as you would have otherwise. So as, like I said, as we go, we'll break all of these out for you and kind of come up with a work plan. But it's not small. It's not as big as it was, but it's not small. There may be more coming out on this in the next legislative session because there are inconsistencies in the language of the bill that are causing some confusion. And so we may see some redrafting of some of that language to just make sure it's very clear what the standards are going to be. So that's where we're at.
I ask a quick question. So because we've already passed on our P O C D to, say, the town council and other entities that need to approve it, we're gonna have to take it back now, and you're saying amend some of that language.
No, I
We're gonna add a
Right.
clause to make it, so that it's consistent with this plan. We just, like we did with a couple other things, we just mentioned the plan, we didn't go into detail about
But
it.
then does it have to be released then back to those
It
entities?
does not, no. What David, our consultant, and I were talking about earlier today was similar to how we sort of called out different planning concepts on some of the sidebars to say, okay, this is what we mean when we say transit overlay or whatever those pieces are. We could do something similar here and just recognize that this legislation was passed during the drafting of the P O C D, that this is a policy the town is aware of and will be working toward compliance.
So that way, if we pass a regulation, we can still say it's consistent with the P O C D because we
Right.
recognize that plan.
I just wanted to make sure, because we're
Yeah,
on
it
the
would not
timeline,
have
we
to
have
go
one
back.
meeting left, and then are we passing this back
No,
to other
no,
folks
we do
again?
not have to go back.
Okay, good. Fantastic.
Yeah, just a clarification of the effective date of the, as of right, housing and, commercial, is that July 1st or January 1st?
I believe it's July 1. The effective date of a lot of these sections are January 1, but they will have a deadline that says by this date you have to have done. So for us, we're reporting to that July 1 of 26. And that's a fast turnaround, as you guys.
Well, Dark, we get a copy of like the notes or anything?
Yep, I will give you a copy of this. I'm also going to, I'll just confirm with Rivercog, but I can't imagine that they're gonna have a problem with the regional planning commission, presentation going out to the group, and they kind of broke it down a little bit for you, so.
Cool.
And there will be more coming out. I think right now, all of the various regions are sort of scrambling to put in training and sort of deciphering of what, this really means for everybody. So
Everybody's still deciphering.
everybody's in the same boat. We're not alone. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, item 7 is new business. First one is, BZC 2524 map amendment for zone change pursuant to section 4.20.2 of the Clinton zoning regulations at 109 West Main Street. This is the applicant is Michael P. Harkin Engineering. We're gonna receive this and schedule it for public hearing. I don't believe there's an applicant here tonight. Oh. You're gonna,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, my name is Michael Harkin, professional engineer and principal at Harkin Engineering, 78 Wolf Hollow Lane in the town of Taylor, Connecticut. We're just here for receipt tonight, sir. So we just like to, be in the audience just to find out when that public hearing date's gonna be, so we can get the sign posted.
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to receive the public hearing, receive this application and schedule it for public hearing.
In January.
Second it.
January is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Next one is, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-25, modification to permit number 94-366 to replace pedestrian bike bridge at 20 Killingworth Turnpike, that's Clinton Premium Outlets. Again, we are just going to be receiving this tonight. That is correct still, right?
What we've received it, but we did provide a staff report since it's not going to a public hearing. The commission has the opportunity to act on this tonight.
So we
The applicants are here to present.
Is there an applicant here tonight? for
Yes.
this?
Correct. I'm here in person and my name is Kathleen Monis. I'm the general manager of Clinton Premium Outlets.
Would you like to give us a quick summary of it?
I'm actually gonna turn it over to Brian Fleming and Katie. They are
Oh,
with
okay.
Kimley Horn, they're online, and they have a brief presentation.
Well, in that case,
we should save that,
do we,
bring it up in whole business, correct?
yeah, cause we went through all this.
yeah, we'll receive it now and then under, wait, is it in here? Yeah, and then under old business, we'll take your testimony, or just let you give us a quick presentation of it, okay? Thank you, Bruce. So I need a motion to receive this item now.
Oh. Okay,
I make a motion.
Yeah.
Easy to C-25-25.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any? Motion carries. Thank you. Make sure I didn't miss something. Okay, now we get to old business. The first item is Planning and Zoning Commission 25-16. Text amendment to section 3, addition to section 12, amend section 27, and modify section 29 of the Clinton Planning and Zoning regulations to allow residential adaptive reuse to existing structures for the purpose of multiple dwellings in the B2, B3, and B4 zone. I'd like to start with this one. At the last meeting, Bo gave a really good description of why he felt this didn't meet the plan of conservation and development. In my reading of this, in my understanding of, what constitutes good economic development, I disagree with Bo on this. I think that there isn't anything in the plan that specifically excludes having residential in the business district in the plan of conservation and development. And as I stated in the public hearing, mixed use to me, one of the ways that we would have this would be to have a residential building and a non-residential and a commercial building, et cetera, in the same area. So for me, this does meet those standards. Each of you will have to decide that on your own, which way if that goes for, okay? Because that's really where you have to come up with your approach to this amendment. The other thing that I feel it does is that consistent with the fact that, of trying to promote housing and also to reduce nonconformities. And, it would do that in these areas, because the structures that were identified in the public hearing, many of them are currently residential, non-conforming. So this would take them out of being non-conforming structures. Okay, which, I see as also being a positive. But again, you may have other concerns, other ideas. So I'm gonna let everybody else have a chance to speak. Ellen got you.
Yeah.
Got her.
I would like to actually ask a question of Abby, who just discussed the fact that over the next 6 months, we're going to have to bring our regs into conformity with the newly enacted legislation from the state. And the fact that that specifically states that as of July 1st, we have to have regs in place that do allow residential by right in these commercial zones. You know, do you have a comment on how enacting this regulation change would affect our efforts to bring our regs into compliance? It kind of sounds like whatever, you know, even if we did say no to this, that by July 1st, it would be legal anyway. I would like your professional opinion on all this. Yes.
So, yep, so what would happen is, so just July 1, whatever we have in our zoning regulations, and so if we have particular dimensional standards, when we say, you know, sort of the by right piece, it means we can't, or that we can't hold a special hearing, require variances for the use or any of those kinds of things. We have to sort of set the site plan parameters that say these are the conditions under which these densities of housing would be permitted in our commercial and mixed use zones. We can adopt dimensional pieces, we can, you know, sort of have those standards in there. And if an application comes in with those standards met, it's a site plan approval. It is something that the commission would be able to grant. Unless there is some overwhelming public safety issue that would preclude it, right? This regulation wouldn't cover all of the necessary bases toward compliance with the statute. However, it would move the commission closer. It's not inconsistent with those requirements. There would be particular standards in here that the commission would have to figure out, you know, how do we keep, do we not keep, does it apply more broadly? So you know, there will be overlap in the conversation that we have about full compliance and sort of the stepping stone along the way. What I would say too is that while we know that the statute is in effect and those regulation changes will need to come in the future, the application that's before you right now is the application before you under today's regulations. And so unless the applicant were to withdraw the application, the commission sort of needs to act on what's in front of you, right? Yeah.
Hello?
You know, I think during the public hearing and under discussions afterwards, I think the commission is generally in favor of the concept, you know, of maintaining certain buildings and even, you know, kind of going along with some residential in this. I disagree with Michael. Michael and I disagree about the consistency. And I floated an idea with Abby that, you know, maybe the applicant comes back with something amended that would allow either commercial on the first floor and then residential extra, or at least one of the units, say up to 5 units, one of those units be affordable. And that would be consistent with in my opinion, consistent with the current P O C D, and not that it matters because it's not enforced now, but it would also be consistent with the upcoming P O C D. You know, when I look at this application and I've looked at it, you know, I've expressed so many opinions on it, but you know, even when I look at the purpose, to encourage the rehabilitation and utilization of existing buildings that were originally designed or converted for residential use. Okay. But then this part, to promote the preservation of existing buildings that contribute to the historic character of the town. Well, we've gone through that it really doesn't preserve any buildings, first of all. You know, as it's listed, it has them being 50 years old. The applicant even mentioned that was just an arbitrary date. And that's, if you look at the cases that were submitted, that was one of the arguments in one of the cases. And the plaintiff or the defendant, which was the town, demonstrated that no, it wasn't an arbitrary decision. It was based on, I believe, the last valuation of the last assessments. So it was brought up too that we maybe make this effective as to the prior prior, before zoning regulations, which again, takes that out of being an arbitrary date and makes sense. You know, the change to making, you know, the addition to 29.2.1. Again, you can't make a special standard for any other, you know, just for a certain building in a certain area. And that could be eliminated, and that doesn't really affect it, because it's stated right in 29, in that regulation, that if it's something for safety, it can be done. So it's not necessary to add this thing, which would add to nonconformity. You know, again, I think the concept is somewhat supported by the commission, I think from the comments we made. I just feel that the proposal that's before us is fatally flawed. I don't feel it's consistent with the plan of conservation and development. It's certainly not consistent with the comprehensive town plan, because they don't have those things there. And those are the things that we have to consider. And again, I think there's certain parts of this that the verbiage is just wrong. It's not right for the town, and it's not done. Even the part about the, you know, the external changes to the buildings. You know, I would recommend that if we go forward with something different, even if we do it in the short term, that the changes, if you want to preserve the buildings, should be limited to, say, the rear of the building or to the elevation that has the least visibility from the street. And that there be no external changes to the exterior of the building, other than those allowed for safety. And that would be consistent with the purpose. This purpose here is, quite frankly, doesn't apply to the regulation. You know, it's the purpose here is to maximize the applicants' profitability, which is fine. They have every right to do so. But I don't think that purpose is accurate. I think that obviously we could change it to the time of pre-zoning. That makes sense. But again, we're certainly not preserving historic buildings that were built in 1965.
Sorry.
65.
50 years ago, it'd be 75.
No, but 65 is the date of zoning regulation. So, you know, for those reasons, I would like to, well, we'll not make a motion at this point, but I don't feel that it's a good idea to pass this regulation as submitted.
Mr. Vice Chair, Dylan had a question.
Dylan?
Mr. Chairman, I feel like this is kind of a repetitive situation that keeps coming up in town. I mean, they used to have a number of single family homes along Route 1 corridor that then got turned into multi-families for the effort of creating more and more affordable housing time and time again. We keep talking about the need for businesses in a Route 1 corridor or in our downtown to create the essence of a downtown, but we keep giving up those properties to residential purposes. And I understand that again, everybody wants to live in town. That's great and dandy, but just can't. Where does anybody go then? I mean, I know there's not a ton of people like lining up and stuff, but nobody's invested in their properties to make them really desirable to open up a store or something. If you're not a long-standing establishment, just thinking you have to keep some semblance of commercial in there to what the town is.
To have that blend, to have that, you know, that mix.
So,
That's what's supported in the P O C D.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment?
Well, but I mean, based on what Dylan was just saying, do we even have the ability to keep things as commercial after the 1st of January?
We may not.
Yeah.
And that's one of the questions that we will have for OPM is can we, if it's a zoning standard, can we mandate the first floor, or is that entirely out of our jurisdiction? We would have to certainly allow the 2 to 9 units. And I don't know that I've read in this new legislation the preservation of first floor commercial.
I don't think you mentioned it, but the historical aspect. Is there anything in the new law that says if it's a historical building to help us keep those gems of our town from being, because there's really nothing in this reg that says that somebody can't just tear it down, but keep the same footprint. And if we're saying we're concerned about the historical identity of these buildings and this town, is there anything in that state law that's gonna say, okay, well, if the building is historical, then?
So there are provisions so basically what we need to do is make sure that whatever we're adopting is consistent with section 8.2. So under the authorities granted to the town to sort of say, yes, we can do historical, we can do, so they specifically call out, height, setback, coverage, those types of things. And there's a reference, a line reference in there that says, and other standards. And so I think it would fall under those other standards. Historic preservation elements are I think, also included in like transit oriented to the priority housing development areas. I'll look at this particular section, but I think it's one of the things the commission has within its authority to regulate. So when we're talking about drafting those new regulations, yes, we could include something on this.
As the as of right, July first, with multiple multifamily housing, the single family house, what they can change, what exactly can they change as of July 1? If they had a home, can they make part of it commercial on that?
So that would be the other part of the zoning, right? So
Yes.
if there is a commercial, so we would be looking at whatever uses are enabled in each of those zones. They would have that opportunity to enact those uses. And one of those uses has to be under site plan approval or zoning permit approval. The authorization of 2 to 9 units that meet whatever standards the commission has put in place that are within its authority to do. So that's really the element here. So you could say, setbacks could change, or, sort of how to handle, historic properties could change, but you've got to account for it in your regs. So,
But as of-
more,
Sorry, but as of now, we really shouldn't be considering that, because first of all, it's not in place right now.
I know that.
And secondly, there's a special session coming up and it may be modified. There's an
I
opportunity
just
that-
sat through that
yeah.
whole thing, and that's why I brought it back to Abby, and there was a lot of ambiguity. And
Yeah.
I told Abby, I said, I was,
But as Abby had said, we need to deal with the current application under the current rules and laws. So that,
Yeah, I just was hoping to get some clarification, I guess, from other commission members on interpretation of the proposed regulation. Some just said that, it doesn't require any maintaining, they can knock down and build in the same footprint.
Mhm.
I thought
he amended
he
that.
amended that to remove that. What I'm reading here, I mean, I'm not sure, section 12.64.3 in standards in the proposed, is that was the thing that was changed to reflect that. Now it's expansion and external changes to the building are to remain within the existing building footprint or be limited to those needed for life safety and accessibility purposes. That's saying that nothing can be done except for life safety, right?
Gross building for gross original intent for reuse must maintain their historic appeal.
That's the new version.
Am I looking at the wrong?
6, correct? Yeah.
12.6.
I mean, so in reading it, first of all, who decides what's a historic appeal? I think we've kind of established that a building from 1965 is not historic.
did you say 75? Oh, I'm not breaking.
No. Initially it was 50 years, but we also talked about bringing it back to prior to when there weren't zoning regulations.
Zoning
was
regulations,
1965.
65.
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
why, that's.
Okay.
Well, if I can
I wanna
get a clarifying question with that too. So you're commenting on to the beginning of the zoning regulations, right? So the proposal in front of us still says 50.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yeah, I was
The
confused.
applicant verbally said that we could change that.
We
as
discussed that
condition.
during the public hearing, so we're
Yeah.
free to change that.
I'm just trying to keep up with all the things.
Yeah. But so it going on back to it, says expansion and external changes to the building are to remain within the existing building footprint or be limited to those needed for safety and accessible. So first of all, it has to stay within the footprint, except, so you could put stairwells, fire escapes, a developed addition to the building on
In
the
the
side,
rear,
on the front.
Talk about the rear.
Well, but here it's not limited to the rear. It's limited to wherever they want to do it.
Lowe's comment was the rear.
Yeah, my suggestion was to the rear of the one that's least visible. But here, it's not limited to that. Yeah, any other proposed alterations must be compatible with its original character. But again, those vague references, character, historic appeal, who decides that? I mean, we've got a commission of 9, and another commission of 9 might have a completely different opinion as to what's historical and so forth. I think, like I said, the commission seems to be kind of in favor of this idea, but I just think what's before us is flawed.
We talked about this before. What is historical about a building built 65?
That's what I'm saying.
There is no historical significance whatsoever. Her house is historic. I mean, if you look at those houses, but going back to 1965, my house is built in 68. My house is historical.
Pretty close.
No, you're a story.
I'm historic, but not the homes. You can't- I think that it shouldn't be in there. I mean, it's going to make it
That's what I
historic.
mean, the purpose and the statements don't match.
They don't
what's
match the
before us.
criteria
You know?
of what we want, but the footprint has to remain the same as to remain in that footprint. I agree with Mike a lot. There's just a little. I think we're close. I think we're very close to helping out people.
You each have to make your own mind up on these things, because it isn't a cut and dry issue.
I mean, if you. Just,
And I did-
if you just go down the street, I don't wanna mention the buildings, but you can see them, they're just so dilapidated, and they're functioning, they're one's a store. You can see it in the building next door, you know what I'm talking about, so
Mhm.
it's horrible, it's right on Route 1, I like to see that fixed, I like to see.
And that's why I said, I mentioned to Abby and the town attorney didn't feel that we had gone into that in enough depth to act on, kind of a proposal or the outline that I kind of laid out, that, you make it you could have either commercial use or strictly residential, but if you have some strictly residential, then you have to add at least one affordable unit. And that's, we're kind of covering two goals there. We're giving the applicant, if you will, or we're giving them a little bit of a carrot to revitalize the buildings, which I think we all want. It would promote a housing option or promote commercial. And the commission could do that on its own at a much quicker timeline than the applicant could.
Exactly.
We could, I wrote up a quick draft, if you will, that would have to be cleaned up.
But
That would be,
what if we took each,
now that we get the P O C D done, we can work on that tonight.
To your next job.
Okay, I'm gonna let Jay.
I just have I can only speak for myself, but it seems to me like the two biggest issues are how the buildings look,
right,
and then possibly the loss of some business space, but I'm not sure what's best, but there should be a way to figure that out. I think, I don't know the language to figure that out.
Well, that's kind of what I, kind of sent that idea to Abby to review, because I think that was a compromise, that they gave us an option for commercial space, and if they didn't want to go with any commercial space, they could add some,
Right,
but it would add to the affordability part. So at least we're not giving up everything, and being inconsistent with what I see as inconsistent.
well, so what do you
With the
think if
POCD.
you saw a building that's been dilapidated for 10 years, someone wants to make it into a residential? I mean, do you think that's a bad idea?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but I don't think we should abandon our concepts that we laid out.
No,
We have a plan,
understand
and I think we have to stick with the plan.
Yeah.
But we can, again, we can make some modifications to.
Well, if we go to
Yeah.
a new regulation, go ahead.
You keep saying you brought this up to Abby, but was that brought up to the applicant, the potential of having, if they make?
No, it happened after the public hearing
Yeah.
and
Oh,
closed, so we can't consider it for this application.
Right, so the applicant's aware that the commission had there were some
Right.
ideas that are out there, but what's before the commission is what's in the record.
Right,
But what Abby had to look into was to whether or not we had talked enough about those different things in order to not consider it a completely new thing. And the town attorney advised that, no, this was
it's new.
enough different than.
And the applicant still does not think that an 830G would be better than changing
We
all?
aren't allowed to know.
Okay,
Public hearing's closed, we
okay.
aren't allowed to get that information, go ahead.
In thinking about recent applications we received, specifically ones where trying to change, first floor commercial to second floor residential, and we've decided as a commission not to permit that change, I think. thinking about what Dylan was mentioning before, like staying consistent with that kind of decision process. As well as POC and all those other things would be kind of an important, I don't know, like I don't know, imperative of what we have to do here, consistency in that kind of aspect. That's the only kind of.
Yeah, Dylan and I were the ones that. Were in
That is
favor.
true. We did have an applicant come
Yeah.
before us that is doing those new condos and asked to switch the bottom floor to residential instead of commercial, and we said, we did say, and that was a new build.
And
That it was
last-
inconsistent,
that
it
was
was,
last
Yeah,
meeting,
Yeah.
so.
that was.
if memory serves, is that
Yeah, that's right.
correct?
Okay. So,
Can we ask Abby, an opinion, Mr. Chairman, what she really thinks?
well, not on whether we pass or not.
I'm not asking her to go first, but I'm asking this. What, anything we could do to make this work?
No, we can't change it. We
We have
the
to-
only condition we can add. Change.
Well, you said you were
The one
against
that was
it.
agreed to in this public
You
hearing.
guys were bickering, so I just figured.
No, no.
Respect.
No, the point is, if we wanted to do something different, okay, we would need to, we could
Change it,
deny this.
yeah.
We could deny this one and go into the regs committee and draft
I agree with
something
that, I agree.
that we, okay? So, I mean, that would be the option,
I-
but
The the only option on here is to change the 50 years to pre-65. That's the only, because we brought that up during.
Yes, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, these, changes that Bo was talking about, the, the two, incentives of, either one affordable or, one commercial space. If that were incorporated into a reg, is it your professional opinion that that would still be legal come July 1st?
That's a very good question, and I don't know that we will have, well, if it's in our regulations, if these are the zoning terms for which the commission has authority under A2 to adopt. The question will rest on that language in the housing or in the that by right residential section of the new act. Where it lists out the dimensional pieces and then other zoning standards, and it sort of leaves them vague. So I think there is some leeway for the commission, but I would be running this by the town attorney to see how far we could go.
That's what I was trying to ask, yeah, I used to give it a verbiage.
Yeah, I think there's enough ambiguity in the statute that it.
I recognize
Another question,
Well, I think it's important to add the affordable aspect. I mean, it's not just about housing and new housing, right? It's about affordable housing. That's why these laws are being presumptuously, why they are being created is because people can't afford to have a roof over their head. And we have to move that needle as a town. To have a certain percentage of housing be affordable, which we are nowhere near. I think we're at 2% out of the 10% we need. Does that sound about right?
With 2.8 or something like that.
Yeah. So I think anything that we can do, any regulations that are changed. Should be very conscientious of moving that needle in the right direction, that it's not just housing for housing's sake, although that is great. But if we are creating more housing, then it should also pair well with it's affordable, especially if we're giving up potential small businesses opening in town.
I think those, if I could just ask, I guess, is your proposed or like your rough draft, it listed commercial or affordable unit kind of thing?
Or one affordable unit, and a big thing there is, it just say if you had 5 units, you'd be required to have 2 affordables. One at 40 and one at 80 and one at 60. And I would propose, and again, that would have to be a different discussion, that we require just one and at 80%. So we're given quite a carrot, but we're at least, and that could be discussed. We might decide to do one at 60. But I think it's a compromise. And I think that's what
I think maintaining the option of commercial, which would be obviously according to the P O C D, a preferred pathway. Or the affordable unit would, I think that's a pretty reasonable compromise.
well, again, now we have to go to, regs to be worked out, but, I think we're reached the discussion point here that, if somebody would like to make one of the two motions.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay,
Let me,
Go ahead.
find it there. You'll never guess what it's gonna be.
no, I would,
No, you're recused from this one, but.
I gotta find my.
here, you,
No,
Here, I have one.
But this, well,
this one here.
we haven't done this there.
I think they're going.
okay.
I usually do my paper.
Oh, right here, I'm sorry, I have.
You have it.
25 pages.
Oh. Ellen, I can look at
Give,
Okay.
just.
Let me just make sure that I'm good at. Okay. And I would also like to add on this is that
We want to add a point out.
yeah, I think we want to add about the, not necessary to add the section of 29, to modify section 29. Which would be 29.2.1.
Can we clarify if you're, so
He's going to read it in a second.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to deny the proposed changes to section 3, section 12, and section 27, and section 29 of the Clinton zoning regulations as drafted in PZC 2516 as amended through November 6th, and the following adopt the following findings of fact. And one note here, when we're acting in our legislative capacity, we don't have to state our reasons. We have to state our purpose for enacting them, but we don't have to state any reasons for denying it when we act in our legislative capacity. That's under 8.3C, I think.
yeah, it's good practice and
Yeah.
advice that we do try
Okay.
to state that collective reason, but.
Yeah,
So the public hearing for the proposed text amendments to section 3, section 12, section 27, and section 29 of Clinton zoning regulations met the zoning requirements in notice requirements, I'm sorry, in CGC 8-7. The proposed text amendments are inconsistent with section 1.4 purpose of the Clinton zoning regulations because the conversion of property to exclusively residential is contrary to the intended commercial use in B2, B3, and B4 zones. The proposed regulations as amended are inconsistent with the vision to promote mixed use commercial development along Route 1 as described in the 2015 plan of conservation and development. And I would like to add that the, no need to, I guess it's covered already, it's not the section 1. It's covered. And I'd like to add also that it's inconsistent with the comprehensive town plan.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Discussion. Mike, for a second.
Florio?
Yeah, and just to clarify, when we get to the vote, since this is a motion to deny, a nay vote on deny is a vote to approve.
Not
Actually,
necessarily.
no.
We can't-
No.
They covered that in the recent,
Well, yeah, but our bylaws also state that we observe Robert's rules, so we have to have the chair clarify where
Yeah,
we are.
so if this, fails,
I know it's, yeah.
it, is not an automatic approval, we would still.
All right, so the chair is committed to
I'm committed.
entertaining a motion to approve at that point.
Right,
So
so the motion is now to deny,
Right.
and it's been seconded.
right. So, is there any further discussion? Okay. You wanna do a roll call vote on this?
Yeah.
Just to be safe? Okay. Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Bo Clark,
Deny.
Ellen Dahlgren,
no, I don't, yeah, I'm 50-50. I'll vote aye with the deny.
Eddie Alvarino,
Deny.
Michael Florio,
Deny.
Shinzi Lettieri,
I vote aye.
I deny.
Yeah.
Deny. Just say deny. Don't confuse everybody.
Jane Handel,
I'm not, this is, a nay is,
If you're voting yes, it's to deny the motion.
Are you voting to deny the application?
and I can't abstain.
You know, you have to vote. I know this. You have to vote yes or no.
He does.
Yes, he does. No, he can't.
to deny.
No,
Motion, agreeing to deny.
he can't. No, how to?
Zach Court,
I to deny.
Dylan Walter,
Aye.
Here.
Oh,
You like.
Very good.
Vote.
The motion passed, we've, denied the application. Thank you, everyone. Okay. The next one, Dylan's gonna step out again, so Susan, you're back.
You're back.
Okay. So this is for, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-21, special exception for restaurant. We've had the, presentation and public hearing for this. So, wait a minute. Make sure I've got, I'm right, you know, so we've closed the public hearing, so is there any discussion?
I'd like to open it up.
Well, I think,
Eddie?
4 minutes for discussion, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I think the applicant has met all the requirements. I think they've been established in town, and they think they do a great job, and I think they are a draw to Clinton, and I think the moving is gonna make them more prominent and bring more people to the town of Clinton, and I see no reason to deny this application. It meets all the requirements as set forth in section 4, section 11, section 28, and section 33.
Well, way to steal my thunder.
Stole her thunder, you weren't supposed to say anything.
No, I think that,
not to the applicant, but.
No, but yeah.
Go ahead, just make.
So the parking lot I use all the time in the back there,
Yeah,
is that gonna be torn up for how long? I mean, no, it's only.
It's their, the park on their property.
I have parking lot there, right? Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah, my question, or more comment, I guess, was pertaining to the parking too. So this is on the EV regulation we just amended. There's no role.
No,
Role in
no,
this.
no,
It's
no,
under
no,
30
no,
spaces
no,
and
no,
everything like that.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
alright,
not enough space.
Yeah, just wanna make sure.
Go ahead, here you
I'm sorry.
I didn't think so.
You should speak.
No, I think that anything we can do to grow our small businesses for our downtown is obviously not only in line with our plan of conservation and development, but I think what the people in Clinton are looking for. It is an established business that's been good to our town, and really, I think this is just another step in the right direction. And very welcome, I think, not just to P and Z, but also to our community. So now that the septic issues are, that's what I heard about.
Somebody like to make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a
That's
motion.
what she was supposed to be doing. I shut up and did, look at her doing.
I'd like to make a motion for PZC 25-21 special exemption for a restaurant pursuant to section 27.2.32B of the Clinton zoning regulations for 21 East Main Street, map 56, block 60, lot 8, zone B-3, applicant Michael P. Harkin, Harkin Engineering LLC.
And I would like to.
Wait, these conditions.
You
Oh, wait.
condition of it?
There's no conditions. No, I actually don't have the conditions in front of me. Who has the conditions? Thank you. Conditions. Prior to endorsement of the special exemption, all proposed on-site parking spaces shall be shown on the site plan and adopt the following findings of fact. 1, the application has met the required notice provisions of CGS Chapter 124, Section 8-7D. 2, the applicant has demonstrated that adequate public parking exists within 500 feet of the site and regular public transit is available during commuting hours within 500 feet of the site. Therefore, required parking spaces are waived pursuant to section 33.8.1 and 33.8.2 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 3, as conditioned, the applicant meets the requirements of sections 11 and 12.28 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 4, the application is consistent with the 2015 Plan of Conservation and Development priorities for the Clinton Center Planning Focus Area.
Okay. And,
I like to second that.
Finish all the work.
Let me do it. I want to.
Oh, you, okay, I'll read that. Go ahead, Mike. Hurry up.
You can third it, it's fine.
You can.
3 Italians fighting over a pizza.
So-
place.
Don't care. So anyway, I would like to second that motion, and I'm very excited for them to come in. They crossed all the T's.
Come in, they're already here.
Jimmy, did have to come, 'cause I quit.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
somebody get Dylan back in again? Thank you.
Congratulations there, Mr. Grant. I think.
We can, we need to. The other things, when we want to schedule the next, regular meeting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-25 modifications permit to replace the pedestrian bridge. We did not have a public hearing, so we can ask the applicants to tell us a little bit about this. So is there an applicant or agent here who would like to speak to us tonight?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Lysy with Kimley Horn, and we're working with Simon Properties, and I'm joined by Brian Fleming, and I will share my screen. Can everybody hear me okay? I know we're virtual tonight.
You're coming through well.
Yep. Okay, wonderful. Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen all right?
No,
There we
yes.
go.
Yes,
Okay, all right, Brian, I will hand it off to you.
sure. Like Katie said, my name is Brian Fleming with Kimley Horn. I'm a bridge engineer and perform the structural bridge safety inspections for the Simon Properties pedestrian bridge. We've been doing that since 2002, and we are here to introduce the project and propose the replacement for the structure. So Katie, you can go to the next screen. So the project location is Simon Properties at Clinton Premium Outlets. In the map outlined in red, we have a part of the mall is located on the north side, and then there's a part of the mall on the south side. And the vehicular bridge allows traffic from north to south. And then today out there is a pedestrian bridge that carries people north to south from the mall. Yeah. And part of our bridge safety inspection process, since we've been doing it since 2002, we've identified deterioration of the paint system, and beyond that has gone into corrosion of the steel, cracks in the concrete deck, and part of the bridge safety inspection is in line with a federal requirement for all vehicular bridges to be inspected. So we follow the same code, but the feds don't require it for pedestrian bridges. But we are following that procedure to document the deficiencies, come up with the coding, identify if the bridge is safe. So as you see it today, the bridge is safe. We are keeping it open, but the corrosion is advancing. Rehab has been studied, but replacement is ultimately the desired concept for this bridge. Next screen there. Perfect. So below the bridge is a wetland, and we've worked with the Inland Wetland Commission and got approval to work through this project as a culvert replacement. There are invasive species below. There is some vegetation below the bridge, and maples and birch and different types of invasive species that we are looking to improve on with our project as well. The surface water down below there's this small waterway, not very large. So, but we are still proposing to put in a large culvert to span over the waterway, plus maximize the span so that we can reduce the wetland impacts. Like I mentioned, we approached this project with 4 different alternatives. We would do nothing, but that does not really improve the safety of the bridge. We looked at the rehabilitation of the bridge, but part of that construction is very difficult. It would require a lot of equipment down in the wetland, and we identified it as it doesn't really meet the long-term service life of the structure. We looked at replacing the bridge with a bridge and identified that would ultimately cost more and add more elements to be maintained and inspected in the future. And where we lie today is a long span culvert, which would be similar to the culvert that carries the vehicular traffic over the same waterway. And this culvert would is roughly 36 feet, and it would be built up with gabion head walls, and it would offer a more of an open feel and give us opportunity to put in plantings and vegetation and a pedestrian trail to connect the people from south to north. Part of our coordination with the soil scientist and the city's environmental engineer and the Inland Wetland Commission, we looked at various options to improve this area and enhance it. So we worked through trash mitigation, we worked through invasive species mitigation, and ways to really improve the site with the addition of this culvert and the grading that's going to be involved. So this is our picture of our letter. Earlier in November, we got our approval to proceed from the inland. And let's see here. Now it's Katie's turn.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit of time and just kind of walk through the plan as it stands today. This rendering on the screen here kind of highlights kind of the key components of the project. So as Brian mentioned, ultimately this is a pedestrian path. So there are different elements around pedestrian safety, including lighting of the pathway itself, trying to meet a 5-candle foot or requirement. Lighting or an additional bollards and railings, bollards to help ensure that it's clear that this is only for pedestrians and no vehicles can come up on the path. And then there's kind of 2 sets of railings. We'll look at some images of what those might look like. One is directly adjacent to the pathway, just to direct pedestrians along the path and not off of, the bridge itself. And then the other railing is more fall protection, and that would be on top of kind of the head walls of the bridge to make sure that, we're meeting all fall protection requirements by code. The last area from a kind of safety element perspective is actually the inclusion of the dining area on the north side of the walkway. And the purpose of that is to pull people out of kind of dining in the parking lot around the food trucks as well. So to provide a dedicated space outside of the parking lot for those activities. In addition to kind of the safety elements, we are providing trash and recycling kind of scattered along the pathway here, not only to help with the coordination with the Inland Wetland Commission of providing more dedicated trash pickup, but just to make sure that, there's many opportunities for people to actually throw their trash in a receptacle instead of elsewhere. There's additional seating and a pretty robust vegetation plan, not just for aesthetics, but really focusing on native vegetation that can help support kind of the ecological value of this area, improve the wetland, and function maybe tertiarily as something nice to look at as well. But really wanting to maintain kind of the robust native character that's out there today. So these are just a couple of more renderings of what this area would look like. This is looking kind of at the face of the culvert and those kind of rock gabion head walls that Brian had mentioned. The fence on top of that for fall protection and kind of the railing along the walkway. This is another rendering kind of cutting through the middle of the culvert itself, 15 feet wide, and then a pretty robust area on either side for vegetation, again with the kind of the different railings shown. And then focusing a little bit more on the furnishings and materiality, wanting to kind of keep a consistent character with what is out there today. So looking to utilize the same kind of lantern style pedestrian lights, the same trash and recycling receptacles that are out there. And then the bench, something that's more kind of natural looking in character. We've mentioned the railing. This is the post and picket style that would be adjacent to the walkway. And then the fall protection fence would be a black vinyl clad chain link. And that's the on top of the head walls. And then finally, just a couple of more renderings of what all this kind of could come together to look at. So with that, we conclude our presentation and we are open to any questions that the commission may have.
I have one question. What's the height of the pedestrian walkway, the fence there?
The post and picket railing here,
Correct.
it'll be around 42 inches tall. So it'll meet the height of fall protection, a fall protection railing.
Is that specified on the plan? The height of the fence? Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Is there any discussion with me replacing a bridge that is
Ready to fall down.
well, it's not ready to fall down, but it is deteriorating, and being proactive about it is something that I do appreciate.
And I think the alternative, what they're proposing is a much nicer looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, application and, you know, semi-permanent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Why didn't they do that the first time?
Good. Always
Probably
easy to
had
second
to-
guess.
they probably had to put it aside now.
Okay, is somebody willing to make a motion today? Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve PZC 25 modification to permit that 94 366 to replace the pedestrian bridge at 20 Killingworth Turnpike, Clinton Premium Outlets, map 43, block 24, lot 1, zone B-1. Applicant Katie Lease, Emily Horn Engineering.
Okay, and there were some conditions that were proposed
I
also.
didn't get any of these conditions
I was
tonight.
gonna say,
One
that's not
one
the.
thing I would
that's
also
not the most
recommend is
nice,
in the motion to make sure that we're referencing the actual plan that's being approved. I want to make sure.
Yeah, so the stated November 18th.
1, any plantings which die or with 75% more dieback within the first year following planting shall be replaced by the property owner. 2, upon completion of construction, the owner shall provide the zoning enforcement officer and as-built plan pursuant to section 4.44 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 3, any comments received from the design review board that cannot be addressed administratively shall be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and adopt the following facts of finding. 1, the application is consistent with the site plan requirements pursuant to sections 4 and 10 of the Clinton zoning regulations. And 2, the application meets soil erosion and sediment control requirements pursuant to section 32 of the Clinton zoning regulations.
And Chintzy, did you ask the reference to the November 18th?
Yes, dated dated November 18th, 2025, prepared by Emily Horn Associates Inc. with the following conditions that I just read. That
Thank you.
I'll second
wanna
that
make
motion.
Still make that.
Okay. Any
He said
further
it was the
discussion?
first. Oh. That was your floor.
Any
You're-
discussion?
All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Staying, motion carries. Thank you.
We almost beat an all day spirit. So,
Yeah, well,
But that's, I don't think of that.
okay. So that's been approved. We move on to the committee report. POCD committee, we know, well, you want to take this?
Well, I think that Abby can give us more information on this because she's more familiar with what's come in and what's not coming yet.
So, so we are meeting on the 11th, at 6 o'clock p.m. as a committee. I know, Bill, you're not able to be there. We're going to try to get you more information, assuming that the deep comments come back to us, with. We're really
They're still.
Reached out, still haven't come in yet. We reached out again today. The consultant reached out again today. We were promised they would be in by the end of the day today. They're still not here.
Oh.
So we are essentially being a little bit of a squeaky wheel and having to drive north to have a conversation. But I think my understanding was that the comments have been with the approving reviewer for some time. And my understanding was that they would be forthcoming at the end of last week, then today, so hopefully within the next 4 hours we'll have them. We've only had 2 pieces of public comment, or two comments to the commission. But that was back on September 25th, so that's something that's, really haven't had a lot of additional public comment. I think we've done a good job of reflecting what the community wanted to see, in this plan. You've seen that we had the positive, comments from the referral to Rivercog, and, the town council has endorsed the plan. So things are sort of marching along right now. The thing that is sort of in jeopardy is that deep review. It really wanted that in time for us to get it to the committee, have those comments incorporated as necessary, and then be able to discuss them at the public hearing on Monday. And that's an important part of this.
And
So we'll keep pushing.
I would like to add to that. I think I've brought up a good idea that we should add reference to the state legislation that's coming, that's gonna be in place.
Yeah. And we would discuss that at the public hearing as well. So as long as the committee is okay with that, the commission is okay with that, we can, I can have them write the language, have it ready, and be ready to discuss.
Can I clarify something about our next meeting? Because I know that there's something going back and forth about meeting on the 12th. We are still.
We don't have a quorum for anything other than the Thursday night meeting. That was the
Okay.
only time that they would get together.
How many do you need for quorum?
We should, well, I think technically 3 out of the 5, but, there's many.
But actually, we increased it to 6 because.
I'll be there. Who else?
I can be there.
Right.
I can be there.
So this is
I can be
Thursday the
there.
11th.
On the 11th.
Yeah, I can be at both, but I just wanted to make sure that didn't get changed. I was.
Isn't our quorum now 4? Because we officially added Chintzia to it.
Oh, I guess, yeah, but, yeah.
Yeah. So that event, before, am I wrong? It was in the morning, now it's in,
No, the meeting that we had set up for months was, or for weeks at least, was December 11th at 6.
okay.
There was some, because Bo has a conflict, there was some provisions, could we accommodate and get a quorum for
Right.
another alternative
Okay.
time? The issue was we can't meet too early because the public comment period doesn't close until December 10th. Then we have to make sure that we're not meeting too late because we have to be able to incorporate and have the consultant
Yes, ma'am.
incorporate any comments
All right.
in order for this to proceed to the 15th. So the only window was the morning of the 12th, and we didn't get enough responses from folks to say whether or not they could attend that morning. And so the decision was made, look, we gotta hold the meeting, and at least have a space for the committee to talk. And then if we need to fill Bo in or how, other pieces, then I can work with Bo directly on that.
And confirming that's at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yeah. So the other piece of this is, it is right now scheduled to be up in the auditorium because it's summer and we need to get booked pretty easily. Would you prefer this to be a virtual meeting, which we could shift it to virtual, or we can do it in person? The thing we won't have is a large screen to put things up on.
We can read our computers, right?
Yeah.
I would
absolutely.
prefer it be in person.
Perfectly fine. We have the room. I just want you to know where it's gonna be. It's not, it's gonna be per TV screen.
In person is great.
Yep, perfect. Okay.
Good.
Yep.
So just to be clear, the date 11th,
Yeah, it's in the agenda.
Right here. December 11th, 16. I
You
started.
put the dates in, Ally, or
I got,
Lori put it in the agenda, one of the. So. I asked her to do that because I wasn't sure I'd screw
I
it.
saw, there was so many letters emails going back, probably said, I'm confused,
Right.
I was waiting.
We're sticking with the original plan, and then we will keep you posted. As soon as I have deep comments back, I will send them out to everybody and make sure that people are talking about what's going
Okay.
on and all that stuff. So.
Now, okay. So I think that concludes the POCD committee report. I would, note, we had sort of suspended our regs committee, but as we talked about tonight, it looks like we should probably plan on getting the regs committee going again in January. So we'll start that process back up again. Okay?
Yes.
Well, the first Thursday of January is New Year's Day.
Well, I'm not gonna,
Ellen,
I'll be there,
I'll
Ellen.
still be at your house eating.
I'm not proposing a date, I'm suggesting that at the next meeting we propose a date.
I was gonna say if we can change it.
Yes.
You got
Thursday.
the invitation, they'll invite everybody over to dinner.
Okay, item 10, correspondence and bills, is there any? Okay. Then we go to our executive session to discuss pending litigation. We'll have to ask, who should I ask to stay here for
You can
this?
invite myself, Kathy and Lori into the session and then everybody else would.
Okay,
Yeah, you gotta kill that Zoom, right?
yeah, so Tyler,
So hey, Katie, we're gonna put you in the waiting room unless you need to come back. Your application was approved, so I don't know if there's a need for you to be back, but so Kathleen, you should be all set, but we can talk tomorrow if there's questions too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.
thank you. Thank you. Okay,
It's.
So-
Too bad.
Attachment. Lord.
So there needs to be a motion to do it, yeah.
I'm just waiting. Okay. So we need a motion to go into executive session inviting Abby, Kathy, Lori, and Tyler to stay with us.
So move.
I second it.
Okay, moved and seconded by Jay and Lee. Okay. Okay, as of this time, recording. Okay, I forgot to have this vote. Okay, all those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Standing, motion carries.
That's real.
Okay, now go ahead, pause.
I'm going to adjourn.
It is 8:53 and we've exited executive session. The motion was made by Cynthia and seconded by,
No, it was me.
Seconded by me.
oh, I got it backwards. There was
Well, times are all.
Eddie and Cynthia.
I moved to
We
adjourn.
move now to adjournment,
Ellen made a motion and I'll second that motion.
okay? Any further discussion?
Carrie.
No,
All
thank
in
you.
favor?
Now you should take us all off a cocktail.